Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another Create a Sim for the Disney Save. Today we're going to be finally working on the castle staff from Beauty and the Beast. So today's video is going to include Cogsworth, Lumiere, Mrs. Potts, Chip, their dog Sultan, and Fifi Plumette, one of the love interests from the movie, which is basically all of the castle characters. There are a couple that got missed, but the household is completely capped out. Once we add in Belle and Adam, the household isn't maxed out. So I think that these are probably the best choices for the household, and we got a lot of characters to get through today, so let's get into it. First, we're starting out with Cogsworth. His aspiration is leader of the pack. He is a perfectionist, proper paranoid sim. He and all of the other castle staff members will be self-employed castle staff, but they each have more like designated or specific roles. So Cogsworth is the major domo or head of staff kind of, and he's also a bit of like a main attendant to the Beast, and I guess you could say like the personal assistant to the Beast, takes care of everything relating to Prince Adam. Cogsworth is the castle's major domo. He's very fond of his position and power that comes with his job. He personally serves and takes care of all of Prince Adam's needs and is the most loyal and trusted servant. Because of this, he can often be a little egotistical, but the other castle staff are quick to give him a hard time over it. He's often the brunt of a joke. Cogsworth can be irritable when other castle members don't follow his lead, but it comes from a place of perfectionism, great love for his job and kingdom, and wanting to always do everything to the best of his ability. Cogsworth enjoys working at the castle more than the others. He is very traditional and enjoys classic music, books, teas, and yearly events and party planning. He does not often take time for himself, and he would prefer to always be generally busy with castle duties. So obviously all of the characters today are going to be based after their human version, which we do get to see all of them in the movie, and I was able to find a lot of really great reference for online. Unfortunately, I think in this situation, this is just another one of the Sims maybe limiting me a little bit and being able to pull their facial structures in a way that I would have found to be really helpful, particularly for Cogsworth and Lumiere, both having extremely exaggerated faces. They are maxed out, both of them, in the way that I have shaped their faces, and it's still not quite what I would have wanted. In addition, I think for Cogsworth, one of the big things that's sort of missing is a more proper mustache. The one that I've actually given him is the very thin pencil mustache, but I really would have loved a more cartoony one that kind of comes like straight off the face, like the hands of a clock. And I was toying with the idea of possibly doing some kind of glasses. I really wanted some like round circle glasses, or maybe even the monocle, but I really didn't like how it looked in the end, and technically his animated human version does not have glasses, so in the end I ended up taking it away. Generally speaking, for all these characters, I have tried to match their outfits to be somewhat proper, time appropriate, high-end, and also color coordinated with their characters, but then sticking with as well what they actually look like in the movie for their animated human forms. So it was a lot going into the choices of their character designs. Now we have Lumiere. Lumiere is a serial romantic. He is non-committal, romantic, and a music lover. He is a self-employed castle staff, and he is the castle's maitre d'. Lumiere is an extremely welcoming gentleman. He is the castle's maitre d'. He prides himself on his ability to put together the most elegant dinners and parties, sometimes with live entertainment. He absolutely loves music and can sing himself. Unlike Cogsworth, he has a habit of disobeying the rules of the castle in favor of fun and creating a warm environment for guests and castle staff. Lumiere is one of Prince Adam's closest friends. The prince often goes to Lumiere for relationship advice. Lumiere is quite the romantic himself. He's incredibly charming and suave, often referred to by the others as a ladies' man. He is known to be chasing more than one woman at a time. Lumiere is also one of Belle's closest friends in the castle. Lumiere oversees all things related to the kitchen and entertainment. He loves the art of cooking and has a taste for extremely fine dining and live performances. Any excuse to have lots of music playing throughout the castle or even get a chance to sing himself. He enjoys planning the castle parties and the large lavish dinners for the prince every evening. After the events are all planned out, he will often dance and sing the night away with a few lovely ladies by his side. Now, I think going into Lumiere's design, for some reason, I just thought that he would be easier to pull off. I think it's because he's more slender. So Cogsworth, I was completely maxed out on the facial structure wide horizontal. Like I was trying to pull the cheeks out and really give this very odd shape to the face that was in resemblance for what you see in the animated movie. And I really couldn't do it. The game wasn't allowing me to go any further with it. And then I went to Lumiere and I just thought it was going to be a little bit easier because he does have some very odd proportions with a particularly like pulled out large kind of pointy nose. And I'm also using a lot of their castle object versions for reference here, so don't get me wrong, but the primary reference is their human version because that's basically what I'm trying to recreate. And I just found Lumiere to be probably the most difficult of all of them. I could not figure out what was wrong that he wasn't looking like either version, and it ended up being the eyes. I think I'm still not totally sold on it, but I really think that this is a case of the game maybe not giving me what I wanted fully to be able to pull this off. Luckily, we did have a hair that is somewhat similar to the one that he has. It is a Get Famous hair, and I have never had a great opportunity to use this hair until now. It's a little bit odd. I also ended up finding a new shirt for him to wear that was really nice. It has like this glowy metallic texture to it. I cannot remember what pack it's from, but I stumbled upon it when I was looking through yellow formal clothing, and I found that and I just thought it fit him so well and still kind of was in line with what Cogsworth was already wearing. So that is Lumiere. Moving on to Mrs. Potts. Mrs. Potts' aspiration is big, happy family. She is a neat, foodie, cheerful sim. She is a self-employed castle staff and head housekeeper. Mrs. Potts is the maternal figure of the castle staff. She is kind, sweet, and nurturing. She still has a very stern, no-nonsense side when it comes to her duties and keeping the other housekeepers in line. She likes everything to be neat and proper and won't take less than perfection, especially for guests. She's been a housekeeper in the castle since the prince was just a little boy. Prince Adam sees her as a mother figure, and Mrs. Potts is not afraid to speak to him about his poor behavior when the other castle staff often won't. However, she's Chip's actual mother, and he can often be found at her side helping her with daily duties. Mrs. Potts' castle duties include a lot of laundry, dusting, and cleaning up after the prince. Despite her workload, she is an incredible parent to Chip. She enjoys spending time with him and teaching him how to cook and read. She also enjoys cross-stitching and a little bit of sewing in her spare time. For Mrs. Potts, I honestly think the most difficult part about trying to get a resemblance for her was the hat. She wears this really cute, I called it like a maid's hat, but I don't really know what it is. It's got this like frill on the end of it, and it sits at the top of her head, and it comes in a pink color, and it's supposed to kind of resemble the lid to the top of the teapot. It's a really clever touch, and it's something that I felt like when creating her in The Sims, I wasn't going to get away with trying to get a resemblance without finding a hat for her to wear. And then some of the photos were showing it to be pink and some purple. It just depended on the lighting a little bit. And in her Mrs. Potts form, it's definitely more purple, but then in her human version, it's more pink, but I found that to be less recognizable, so it was a little bit of a struggle. I went through a ton of hats in the catalog, and again, I really don't like any of them, if I'm completely honest. This is one of those things that I'm going to keep my eye out for a future pack potentially giving us some kind of odd hat, whether it be some debug hat or something weird, but I really hope that we get something that is even just a smidge closer to what she actually wears, because I think that that's going to make such a big difference. Because we did recently get Cottage Living, and I went through all the Cottage Living hats and stuff, and really none of them worked out super well. But one thing that did work out really well from Cottage Living is this brand new dress that comes with the pack. It has an apron on the front of it. It comes in beautiful colors. It actually kind of reminds me of Alice's dress from Alice in Wonderland, which we could definitely end up using again later. But for Mrs. Potts, it kind of fit, and it had this apron. It was so close to how she actually looks in her human form, so I was really happy with that. I do think that that makes up for the lack of being able to find an actual like decent looking hat for her to wear, but nonetheless, like I said, I felt she still had to have one, especially because I think the combination of using a lot of pink and purple on her and doing this like whitey blonde hair color, which is all very accurate to the movie, but what I was seeing when I was creating her was Lottie LaBeouf constantly, and I think I might have used the same hair and just like using the same pink tones and everything. I just kept seeing Lottie in her face, in her design, in everything. And the more I played with it, the more I just felt like she didn't resemble Mrs. Potts at all, and I didn't like it. So I gave her the hat, one that Lottie would probably not wear, and I know that she hasn't had assigned on any of my outfits that I've chosen for her. And I also gave her a couple more like harsh lines in the face, changed the nose shape a little bit, and then I think that it just ended up turning out a lot better. I also switched her eyeshadow to be more of a purpley color, which is more true to her character teapot design, versus her human form where they had given her pink eyeshadow. So I just switched it to purple and it ended up turning out a lot better. Moving on to her child, Chip Potts. Chip's aspiration is rambunctious scamp, and I've chosen the trait goofball for him. You can only pick one when they're a child, and I think it's a really like all-encompassing for him. He does have a pet. His pet's name is Sultan. You might remember him from being the footstool in Beauty and the Beast. We are going to turn him into his dog version so that Chip can have his actual dog and have him be a part of the household. That is at the last part of the video. Chip is a very cheerful and curious little boy with an extremely active imagination. He can also sometimes be very brave and protective over the ones he loves, although often fearful of the beast's temper. Chip absolutely loves Belle and sees her as an older sister. One of his favorite things to do is spend time with Belle. He likes to listen to her read and help her with things she's working on. He enjoys parties at the castle as much as the rest of them, even though he's usually not allowed to attend for long. So one thing I found really interesting about Chip's human version is that he has this bright yellow hair, and honestly this like mac and cheesy yellow hair that we have in the game that I try to avoid using at all costs kind of fits his character. It's almost identical to the actual shade that they give him in his human form. I'm not really sure why. He doesn't have like a super resemblance to his cup version. I guess maybe he couldn't. It's not as easy as like transforming an adult, and even just making Sims children are so much more restrictive, and you can't really get that general likeness that you would anyway. So sometimes that's just a little bit more difficult to tackle no matter what. I was pretty happy with the clothes. We got a little bit of Star Wars and stuff going on, and I did switch the hair at the last second to an eco lifestyle hair versus the one that we originally going with, because it's a little more shaggy, messy. It resembles the one that he has a lot more, which is like way more voluminous. And I'm kind of surprised again they didn't give him like a white blondie hair, but again, I'm just going with what the movie was showing me. Now we have Fifi Plumette. Her aspiration is perfectly pristine. That is the new one that is added with the vacuum kit. She is a romantic, jealous, neat sim. She will have some romance with Lumiere. They are going to be like love interests in some like small way. You can choose to play with that how you will. She is going to be a self-employed castle staff housekeeper. Fifi is very flirtatious and alluring. She currently has her eyes set on Lumiere and enjoys teasing him and trying to get his attention. She can be extremely jealous when she sees Lumiere with another woman, no matter the context. This sometimes gets the best of her judgment, and she will make rash decisions in a moment of anger. She is a housekeeper, but definitely not the best one in the castle. She can be a little lazy and snobbish, even sometimes leaving the worst work behind for the other housemaids. Fifi enjoys dancing and parties at the castle. She's almost always working any castle event, but is known to sneak off for a dance or two with Lumiere. I just think that Fifi is so pretty. I loved her design in the movie. Even as a child, she was a character that for some reason just stuck in my brain. I thought she was so cool, and I really love what they did with her live action version as well. I love the romance between her and Lumiere. I did go with the animated version as I did with all of the other characters, and she has this like short brown bob cut that was very hard to pair because a lot of the ones that we have are almost too chiseled, too modern, and then I was also looking for one that doesn't have bangs, and one of the only options was the new Snowy Escape bob haircut, but she actually ended up looking very close to, I think her name is Colette from Ratatouille. There was like a resemblance that was uncanny, so I ended up changing her face a little bit, tilting her eyes a little more, making the nose a little longer and the chin a little bit longer. I wanted to take that resemblance away because I fully intend to have that character later on, and I just don't want them to be too close looking to one another. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of an overlap for characters here and there throughout the Disney save, but for the most part, I would like most of them to be very, very recognizable from a distance, and I think Colette is a little bit more recognizable, so I just wanted to save some of those features for maybe a character that's a little bit more prominent. So I did elongate her face a little bit and kind of change it up, and I ended up going with a completely different hair anyway, just to fully stay away from the resemblance that she could bear to that character. She does have a very curvy body that I thought was so fun. I was very excited to add a sim like this, and it's very much in line with how they show her in the movie, so I really, really love her. Unfortunately, we didn't really have like an apron style off-the-shoulder dress that she wears, but I tried to piece two things together, one being a skirt in the brown color that she is drawn in her little feather duster form, and it has this like apron over the front of it, and then a black top that at least meets the waistline on that so that she doesn't have any stomach showing in the middle. So it's kind of in line with the general shape and the idea of how she is shown in the movie. It'd be so cute to have her like get a little feather duster. I actually think she's the one that resembles her character probably the most, but she also had some of the least exaggerated features in her human form, so it was a little bit easier to replicate. And then to round out the video, we have the castle's dog, Sultan. So Sultan is officially Chip's dog. In the movie, he gets turned into a footrest. In the live action, he is a Yorkshire Terrier, but I've stuck across the board with animated I tried to with all of my characters. The only time I ever really use reference of a live action character is if there's no possible way to get resemblance for the animated version, whether I feel like I'm just completely unable to pull it off in Create Sim, or I think they'll be unrecognizable if I don't like pull some kind of resemblance from somewhere. So if you remember a really long time ago, LeFou is actually based after Josh Gad because I knew I was not going to be able to get a good resemblance for LeFou. And I feel like of all people, Josh Gad might be one of the few live action celebrity-ish people that I would be comfortable including in the save file because he's so iconic to multiple Disney franchises. So I was like totally okay with that. But when it came to this, I really wanted to stay true to the animated. So I went with I don't know what this breed is called. Basically what I did is I just went through small breed dogs and tried to find one that looked most closely to his version in the animated. And I found this forever puppy, if you will, because it is the most adorable, big-eyed, beautiful, cute little doggy in the whole world. I'm in love with this dog, and then basically just have to go ahead and start painting it to look a little bit more like how it is in the movie. It has these little paws that are almost in resemblance of like boots, and then it has this patch on its back that I think is supposed to kind of be a tribute to the footrest itself. But when I was done with it, honestly, I feel like he ended up looking like a little dog version of Appa from Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I'm not mad at, but I just wanted to point that out because I immediately, in all of the design elements on the dog, saw a huge resemblance, especially when I start to darken the face up a little bit. But it doesn't really matter because I absolutely love this dog. I would die for this dog. I think that this dog is the best dog in the save file other than Hal from Wally's household. I also love that dog. There's something about this one that makes me really excited, and putting it up on the gallery is going to be even more fun because it automatically goes into the hands of the child for like that thumbnail photo, and that would be Chip. So the household looks really great. I'm really happy with all of the characters together. I'm so excited to create Beast Castle and add them all in to the gallery and the save file for you guys to play with. And I hope that you guys like them. Let me know what you thought of the characters in the comment section down below and which one was your favorite. If you would like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time I post. And I will talk to you all in the next one.